Hi there. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Shaumik Ghosh. I'm from ETCIO, and we're reporting live from the sidelines of Thoughtworks Digital Leaders Forum. Joining me here is Mr. Vijayanand. Vijay, if you could just introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Sure. I'm Vijayanand Tirumalai. I actually am a VP of Product Engineering and a country head for OEConnection. We're located in Chennai. I've been in the software industry for about 32 years. Have worked across the world and in different industries. And for now, I'm with OEC. We're primarily in the automotive parts ecosystem space. So that's kind of what I do today.
All right. Well, we're going to tap into those 3 decades of experience for the benefit of our audience here. Now, Vijayanand, to start with, we are seeing a lot of AI pilots, all right, but then not many of them are able to scale up or go to a point where they're able to deliver business value. So, if you could advise to our audience here, what do technical leaders, what do IT leaders need to do to ensure that their AI deployments they're able to get it right the first time, they're able to scale and meet those business objectives?
Well, right off the bat, when you said we're doing pilots, you're not going to get it right the first time. Right. So that what it requires is a little bit of, I would say, bravery to try out different things. There's a lot of growth that is actually happening in the industry, and information is changing, and the architectures are changing a little too fast for anybody to keep a grasp on. So what you need to be able to do is to first understand the problem that you're trying to solve, which means you are steeped in your business's problems that you need to solve. And as you start to look at that, then you apply AI as a tool to start to help you figure out how to solve that problem. Right. It's just like, I mean, going back, uh, there is every time a new software language came out, right? It was trying to solve a problem. Right now, you can look at AI as another language that is solving a different problem. And so that's one part of the story as far as how you get started, right? What is important is also to stay with it, to learn, get the feedback, and figure out if you're heading down the right path or not. I know it sounds quite obvious to say these things, but one of the biggest problems we tend to have is the moment you hit a wall, we're going to turn around and come back rather than figuring out, go over it, around it, or whatever the case, or the typical thing that you would say to that is. So it's important that you stay with the problem, try to solve it. Sometimes you may actually have to go back and reassess if the problem that you're trying to solve is the real problem you're trying to solve, because we may have a false sense of idea that we may be solving the problem right. So you got to think through all of that. And so you have to have consistent amount of learning as you go through this. And so this also means that you're now having to influence the leaders in the organization to spend more money to kind of get you into that direction without not really knowing how much ROI you're going to get. So that's why I said you need a little bit of bravery to be able to make decisions to stick with it and keep moving forward. And as you start to build successes, you got to go use that as building blocks to build more successes. That's true for pretty much anywhere that you are. So that's kind of what I would say that you
All
can
right.
do there.
Well, some real pearls of wisdom from Vijayanand out there. You're likely to fail with pilots, but then be brave, carry on, and do not turn back when you hit a wall. All right. Now, let's also go take a step back. Let's talk about the data story. Now, we've heard a lot about data hallucinations. We have heard about AI turning out to be biased. What kind of data foundation principles are necessary to ensure that you're able to get AI right the first time?
Again, you're not going to get AI right the first time. I want to keep saying that again and again, right?
Sure.
Um, Data is, as everybody knows by this time, but data is the core of everything that you do in here. There are different kinds of architectures that are available now. Medallion is been like one of the architectures has been around for quite some time, where each layer is actually improving data as you kind of move forward. What is again important is to know the domain that you are in, thinking about the right perspectives. So the process about washing data to get it better is only one part of the story. But how do you know the data is getting better? What is it that it reflects the actual domain or it doesn't reflect the domain? These are things that are important to know and understand. What is also important along with that is that you attach them and get the right feedback, again, for the pilots that we talked about earlier. And it tells you whether it's actually getting towards the problem that you're trying to solve or not, right? Specifically in terms of data architectures, there are quite a few out there. And I think you have to attempt multiple of those to actually work this out. Process-wise, again, industries actually can tell you a lot about cleansing of data, how you clean up data, labeling data. All these things are what you call operational aspects of data. The most important aspect is the data architecture that you put in place.
Understood. All right. Now we've spoken about the technology side of it. Let's also talk about the leadership angle. Now, does fostering AI innovation also require a cultural mindset shift? And if so, how do you advise our audience members here to drive an AI first culture?
It's a brilliant question, right? As with any change, there is always a scare. Right? A scare comes at multiple levels. Scare about relevance, scare about your job, scare about not knowing what to do, right? So you have to be able to address some of these fundamentals as you kind of move forward. You have to be able to help the people who are adopting these tools and technologies to see how they can be better at all of these places. And also give them the perspective that you have to be with these tools and technologies because the industry is heading that way so that you don't get left behind, right? As with any change management, you have to figure out who the audience is, what is it that you're trying to do, and what you're trying to solve, right? AI is now in pretty much all the conversations everywhere else, everywhere in the world, right? You open a book or open a website or a podcast, listen to one or anything that you see, right? You're going to hear about AI. And so you need to continue to talk about AI in a manner and provide the tools to the team in a manner that they can actually continue to grow and see the results for themselves. Again, that personal success will also help them to kind of get over the concerns that they would have. And like I said earlier in the first question, right? Some bravery is required from all accounts, from the organization, from the leaders, from the individuals to actually help them get there.
All right. I think those were some fantastic points that you shared with the audience today. And we would really like to thank you for that. That was Vijayanand. And thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.